No Hymen, no diamond. Someone wrote me informing me about a Facebook page that apparently shames women who don't have their hymen. Although let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we're about to learn all about the hymen. And we'll also learn a bit about how ignorance can sometimes be super humiliating. The individual who submitted this did say that the page was a joke. Don't really see the humor in anti-female pages on Facebook. The individual also says I can make it funnier than it already is. It's not funny, so there's no challenge there. This is the banner of the current page. They clearly have marvelous shirt design skills. And here they are bragging about emotionally affecting people. It's clearly they themselves feel so small and insignificant. They're also complaining about getting death threats. But pro tip, if you don't want death threats, don't be a dickhead on the internet. I myself have been a dickhead plenty of times. And when I got death threats, obviously I somewhat understood why. Also beware if you visit their Facebook page, they might straight up ban you because they don't like it when people aren't nice to them, but they certainly like being hateful towards others. Makes you wonder why they don't just ban themselves. The admin also asks how can they be sexist if they're female? Well, instead of asking them the question, you could have done the less annoying thing and just Googled it. As we can all see, you have internet access. The definition of sexism actually doesn't reference the gender of the person being sexist. It simply talks about treating one gender as if they are lesser than another. And that is definitely what you're doing when you specifically target the genitalia of women, acting like if their genitals are in a certain state that they're somehow lesser. Now let's talk about the horseback riding rumor, because the page in question did claim that you can't actually break your hymen from riding a horse. Here we have a diagram of female reproductive organs. First of all, to all the bisexuals, lesbians, and straight guys watching this, that's where the G-spot is. Now you know. As for the hymen, you can see that it would be very close to a saddle if a woman were to ride a horse. However, based on my research, it is very unlikely that a saddle would hurt your hymen, considering the saddle won't likely penetrate you. The same page suggests that if you fell on a phallic type object, your hymen might be affected. Now here's the part where we destroy the no hymen, no diamond concept altogether. Because of only a few minutes of research, I'm able to deliver you the following. And that is pointing out that most all, if not all, women still have their hymen. Isn't that awkward? That's super awkward, right? Because for some reason, a lot of us thought after you have sex, you don't have your hymen anymore. But that's actually not the case at all. In fact, this report says that if your vagina is penetrated, your hymen might be stretched out or even tear a little bit, but it's still gonna be there. So you know, no hymen, no diamond. More like yes ignorance, yes humiliation. The person who runs this page has so much spare time in their life that despite the previous page being shut down, they decided to relaunch it because they're obviously fighting the good fight. That is the let's try and humiliate all women who have had sex before they got married or simply got a divorce. Remember boys, no hymen, no diamond. In other words, men can have as much sex as they like, and that shouldn't stop anyone from marrying them, right? But if a woman marries a guy and he turns out to be a total psychopath and she divorces him, well, it seems according to that Facebook page, she's too big of a slut to ever marry anyone ever again. I guess she should have been a better mind reader to figure out whether or not the guy was actually a secret psycho. And let's be painfully clear here. This is textbook sexism. When you act like female genitalia is lesser than that of male genitalia, you are putting down the entire female sex. Now you might ask, hey Greg, don't you put down the male sex on a regular basis? Well, fortunately for me, I actually have statistics proving that the majority of criminals are men. In fact, most all the awful things that have ever happened in the world happen because of men. I feel like at the very least, despite the potential hypocrisy, I at least have facts on my side. Here's a screenshot of the old Facebook page before it was shut down. It used to have over 2,400 people who liked it, and now they only have 1,204. In other words, using this specific example, hatred towards women is slowly dying, which you know is a victory for more than half the planet. And here we have someone again devaluing women, basically saying if your hymen isn't intact, then you're less valuable to men. Well, I mean, there's always women, and I personally recommend women be with other women. I mean, just compare how many men murder women versus women murder men. Yeah, you're probably better off being with a woman if you want to live longer. Anyway, destroying ignorance with the truth. It's so much better than blindly stating your opinion and hoping that opinion is actually valid. Nope. We do facts here.